Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have While You Were Sleeping. This is the 1995 movie starring Sandra Bullock right there, and it is an hour and 44 minutes long. It is, of course, a romantic comedy. She kind of was the go-to girl for a while, other than, Speed and Demolition Man, which I love both those movies with her in it. She was, I mean, she's older than me, but she was still a bit of a ingenue in the sense, and back in this era, she was approachable. She was normal girl, not glam girl kind of thing. Although she can very much do glam. She knew how to do comedy. She missed congeniality with drama and everything else. I mean, this is 100% a comedy about a man in a coma. So yeah, it's a girl. It's a woman who works in the Chicago Transit Authority. She's on the platforms, taking tokens from people who want to get on the subway, or is it a subway when it's above ground? No, anyway. By the way, those people don't necessarily exist anymore because machines took that job. You just get a ticket. I was in Chicago a couple years ago. Yeah, there was nobody working on the platforms. Anyway, she works in a little booth. People drop tokens in front of her, and she lets them through. And she falls in love with a guy who is just incredibly handsome. It's Peter Gallagher, and he is usually known as the handsome guy in a comedy. That's kind of his role. He's funny, but he spends most of the time in a coma because on Christmas Day, he gets kind of roughed up by some ne'er-do-wells on the platform, falls off the track, hits his head, is unconscious, and it's left to Sandra to save his life. And she does that as a train is oncoming, and she pulls his body out of the way. Problem is, this is a man she's always dreamed of meeting and talking to, but she's kind of concerned about what happens to him when she's taken to the hospital, and through a series of misunderstandings. This is very much like a farce. It feels like a much older type of movie. By the way, directed by John Turteltaub, but it's meant to. It feels like a much older farce comedy, but I realize that this is kind of an overflow of a lot of similarly written comedies over the years. It's the kind of thing where you tell one lie, then you have to tell another lie to cover that lie, and then you keep telling more lies, or it's a series of omissions. You don't necessarily tell a lie, you just don't tell the truth. And this is very much, it creates tension and it creates comedy as you want in a comedy. So she's welcomed in by his family, who is a collection of his parents and his little sister and eventually his brother. So, by the way, his name is Peter Gallagher's name in the movie is Peter. Wow, that's a stretch. However, the brother that eventually shows up is Bill Pullman, not Paxton Pullman. I think he was the one in Independence Day. Bill Pullman, who was president in Independence Day, right? Dang it. Bill Pullman plays Jack, and he shows up a little bit later, but he's immediately suspicious of her. By the way, I'm not going to spoil the entire film. You should watch it if you're interested, but I'm telling you the basic concepts here, the basic format of the film, in case you were curious as to why this movie is interesting. I guess that's my job that I wish I could get paid for. Anyway, she just keeps getting in deeper and deeper with the family, getting closer to them. And by the way, this happens on Christmas, and he's in a coma this entire time, Peter is, and Jack suspects her at every turn as to not being exactly who she says she is, or doesn't deny she is. And along the way, she and Jack seem to like each other more and more. If only she wasn't already engaged to his brother, who is in a coma. And yes, there's revelations abound here and there, and there's some people she confesses to, like her boss. By the way, played by Jason Bernard. I think he's currently on Your Honor, which is a show with Bryan Cranston. Anyway, other people in this, by the way, while I'm speaking of actors, Peter Boyle plays Peter's dad. There are a lot of Peters in this. Jack Warden plays Saul, a friend of the family, who, I'm not going to say anything. I won't say it. I give it away. Peter's mom is played by Glynis Johns. His grandma is played by Glynis Johns, and his mom is played by Michal with an M, Michal Mercurio. One of my favorite characters, though, in this, and this is one of the staples of kind of like 80s, 90s movies, where, yeah, you got the main characters doing their thing, but there's always some sort of extra character to break up any of the serious moments. If there's ever like a serious tension moment where people have an argument or something like that, you throw in the goofy funny guy, and that's Michael Rispoli, right? Yes, Michael Rispoli plays Joe Jr. He's her landlord's son, and he's just this Chicago Goomba kind of guy, and he's just he's very Chicago. By the way, it takes place in Chicago, so if it's it's the most, he's the most Chicago thing in this, other than the environment. Speaking of environment, since this takes place literally on Christmas Day through New Year's Day, and then probably a couple weeks into January, like literally the span of this film cannot be more than a month long. And she's engaged to one guy while falling in love with another guy in that span, while deceiving an entire family. They're in Chicago in the wintertime. I've been in Chicago over New Year's Eve a long time ago, but I know it hasn't gotten better. It's freaking cold. There's one point where she and Jack are walking out by the water. By the way, colder when you're out in the river or near the river or off the lake. Seriously, that the river that goes through Chicago. If you're just walking along that thing, no, in January or late December, you're not walking by that, because it's already like 0 degrees outside, and the coolness coming off the water, not making it any better. I could be wrong. Maybe things have changed, global climate change warning stuff, but I doubt it. So yeah, this was probably filmed in like the spring, and they just put Christmas decorations up. I don't know, and it's still cold. I've seen it snow in April there. So yeah, I get around. Anyway, Sandra is delightful. I may have had a little crush on her. I have for many, many years. Mainly because she's just plays just this completely approachable, sweet, but in this case, very lonely young woman who is, like I said, she's lost her family. She lives alone with her cat. She doesn't get out much. She dreams of going places, just to put stamps in her passport. But she's stuck. And soon she could be... she knows that everything she's getting out of this relationship with this coma man's family is everything she's always wanted. She's always wanted a family, because she misses her own. And these people have been very kind and very sweet to her. And she knows at any moment, if the truth is revealed, or she has to reveal the truth, should Peter ever wake up, well, she could give Grandma a heart attack and ruin everything and break everybody's heart. And it would make her even more lonely and sad. And you don't want that for this Sandy. No. By the way, Sandy, I can't remember her name. Her name's Lucy in this. So yeah, there's some pretty sad, really sad moments in this. But again, it's broken up by a lot of pretty good comedy. There's a lot of good line delivery, especially between her and Jack. Have a great chemistry, her and Bill Pullman. And the family, all grandma is kind of a wacky, weird lady who says not necessarily inappropriate things, but non sequiturs in a sense. She just sort of, the family is, their humor is, it seems like they're always arguing, and I kind of little bit wonder if Peter Boyle and Jack, what's his name? Jack Warden, if they didn't sort of ad lib a lot of their stuff and then just had the others sort of pile on. There's probably a blooper reel out there somewhere that shows these guys, because these guys have been doing this comedy stuff for a long time. So it's a great cast. It is, no, it's not going to revolutionize romantic comedies or film in general at all. This is kind of a guilty pleasure for me, because even though I haven't honestly seen it in 30 years, it seems like it, well, it hasn't been 30 years, but I haven't seen it probably. This is the kind of thing I imagine I had on VHS at one point. Why? Well, I had a girlfriend, but at the time that VHS existed, and we might have owned it. I don't remember. I know I don't own it now, even though I have a number of VHS tapes over there. Yeah, it's a weird collection. This is my 80s area, by the way, if you can't tell. So yeah, it's an enjoyable film. I like it. I know it's maybe it's not manly enough to say that. Oh well, it's, I enjoyed it. It's fun, and it was great revisiting it. There's some big, funny moments throughout it. Like I said, cast is appealing. The comedy is just spot on with these characters. They deliver their lines perfectly. There's a moment when Jack drives her to a party at her friend's place on New Year's Eve, and everybody assumes that this is her fiance, and there's a moment where he turns to the camera before the door closes, and it's just perfect. It's just dead on perfect. So yeah, so beyond just the family dynamic and everything else, and Sandra herself, who was just fantastic, it's just all the little extra things that flesh out this movie, probably to make it more than an hour and a half long. I think all the Michael Rispoli stuff, if you took all the Michael Rispoli stuff out, maybe this may not have made it to 90 minutes, but it's still fun. It's still fun. And this is the kind of thing that I imagine in a decade or two they could end up remaking, but would it be as good? Could it be as good? I don't know. We have to see. Because everything eventually gets remade for some reason or another. And this, I think, was a really big hit at the time. It'd be fun to see Sandra Bullock 20, 30 years down the line play the wacky grandma. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of kind of expected cliche characters that you see in a lot of films where misunderstandings happen. Whereas, and by the way, this entire film is about her just sliding by millimeters from having her secret exposed. Like, some little piece of logic just falls into place at the right time in order to keep her from having to tell the truth. And yeah, that's the farcical nature of this type of film, and that's all right. It's I wish I had prepared better to say all the different films that are like this, but I think you probably can tell once you've seen it. If you've seen your share of 80s and 90s comedy farces and much older films. So let's pick tomorrow's episode. 88. So I recommend it. I do. It's strange, but if I had to watch a romantic comedy from the 90s, this would be the one. And I almost put on the Christmas hat because this was Christmas time, but I didn't. All right. Oh, we got a series for the first time in a while. But I don't know if it's shorts or if it's an actual full-on like half-hour episode series. We'll find out though. Because I think it's one of those new Disney Plus original series featuring Chip and Dale Park Life. So yeah, probably watch, depending on if it's a bunch of shorts that or it's not too many, I might just blow through all of them. Usually it'd be marked as shorts, but I make mistakes. But if it's like an episode, if it's a regular series, I'll probably watch an episode or two, see how it goes, and I'll be right back here to talk all about it tomorrow. Chip and Dale Adventure Park. I've already forgot. Chip and Dale Park Life on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.